Welcome back to Decoded by Mo. There are many questions about AI, but one of them stands above the rest because it affects every single one of us, no matter our age, our industry, or where we live. And that is, what happens to our jobs? This isn't just a technical question about machines and efficiency. It's a deeply human question. Jobs are not only about paychecks. They shape our identity, our purpose, and the way we're introduced to the world. Think about it. When you meet somebody new, the first question is almost always, so what do you do? That's why I believe this is one of the most important discussions we can have. And it's worth slowing down for. I'm breaking this down to three-part series where I want to break the conversation closer and echo the voices of some of the people who have most profoundly influenced the development of AI itself. But before we dive in, if you're enjoying this podcast, please hit the follow or subscribe button and share it with others. It really helps me keep bringing you valuable content, and I truly appreciate it. Let me start from the very beginning. From the first tools we created, the hammer, the plow, the wheel, there were probably people who thought their jobs were gone forever. Imagine the man whose job was holding stones on his back. Then comes the wheel, and suddenly stones can be rolled. He must have thought, that's it. Nobody will need me anymore. Or the craftsman whose trade was breaking rocks by hand. Watching as a hammer could do the same job in a fraction of time, you can almost hear his fear. If anyone can swing this tool, what happens to my skill? And that fear never went away. It showed up again and again, century after century. When the printing press spread across Europe, it didn't just put scribes out of work. It shocked the entire intellectual order. Imagine being a scribe trained for years to carefully copy the manuscript, each letter drawn with precision. Suddenly, a machine could do it faster, cheaper, and with fewer mistakes. Their sense of identity collapsed. One monk wrote bitterly that the printing press would flood the world with frivolous stories and ruin true learning. Yet, what happened? Literacy soared. Knowledge became democratized, and the world changed. When the steam engine arrived, the disruption wasn't abstract. The Luddites, which were skilled workers, literally broke into factories at night and smashed machines with hammers. To this day, Luddite means someone who's afraid of technology. But back then, they weren't resisting progress itself. They were resisting starvation. Machines were cheaper, faster, more efficient. Their jobs were gone. And they were right. The factory did displace them. Factories also created railroads, steel industries, and an entirely new class of jobs. Electricity changed the rhythm of life itself. For centuries, humans rose with the sun and worked until darkness. Suddenly, nights could be lit. Entire industries disappeared, but new ones rose. Electricians, engineers, designers, you name it, there are so many others. Electricity didn't just change jobs, it changed time. And in our lifetime, the internet did the same. Travel agents, typists, director clerks, they vanished. But in their place, coders, website designers, app developers, and influencers. Entire industries that sounded ridiculous 30 years ago. Every single wave had the same pattern: disruption, fear, anger, and eventually adaptation. But here's the catch. All those technologies replaced muscle. They made physical work easier. They automated strength. AI replaces mind. It doesn't just lift a load or spin a wheel. It writes, it codes, it designs, it advises, it translates, it even creates music and art. And that, to me, is the real difference. AI feels like a more clever you. It's like looking into the mirror and seeing a version of yourself that never forgets, never stops, never slows down. Exciting? Yes, but also deeply unsettling. Because here's the thing. Our bodies and minds are engines built for survival. They don't waste energy. Whatever we don't use, we begin to lose. Think about it. Stop using a muscle and it weakens. Stop walking long distances, your stamina fades. Stop speaking a language and fluency disappears. The brain prunes away what isn't needed. It conserves energy. Our ancestors were almost certainly fitter and stronger than we are today. Why? Because they walked everywhere. They carried, they climbed, they endured. Today, we build comfort. Cars replaced walking. Elevators replaced stairs. Remote work replaced commuting. And our bodies reflect that. They become softer, less resilient, and less trained for endurance. Our brains work the same way. GPS made many of us lose the ability to read maps. Spell check made us forget spelling. Calculators made us weaker at mental math. And anyone who has learned a second language knows stop practicing and you lose it. The risk isn't just unemployment. The risk is mental atrophy. We could lose the very muscles of our minds, our ability to think deeply, to write clearly, and to solve problems ourselves. And in the long run, that might be more dangerous than losing any job. And that's why in this 3-part series, I want to host a dinner. You've probably been asked the question before in an MBA essay or an interview or just around the social table. If you could invite anyone, dead or alive, to a dinner, who would it be? Well, I'm asking it here, but my dinner is about AI and jobs. If I could gather the voices who matter most in this debate, here's who I'd bring. First, I'd start with Mo Gaudet, the former chief business officer of Google X, who says AI will take every job. Peter Diamandis, the entrepreneur behind the X Prize, who believes AI will create abundance. Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, who resigned from Google to warn of the risks. Demis Hassabis, the neuroscientist and DeepMind founder, who sees AI as the engine of discovery. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, whose GPUs are powering the revolution. And finally, Sam Altman of OpenAI, steering this transformation in real time. So, 6 voices, 6 perspectives, and together they form the spectrum of where jobs may be headed. Across these 3 episodes, I'll bring you into this dinner. Today, I'll start with Mo Gaudet. Next week, Peter Diamandis and Geoffrey Hinton. And finally, Hassabis, Huang, and Altman, before I close with the reflections on how to stay human in a machine age. Mo Gaudet is best known as the former chief business officer of Google X, the so-called moonshot factory, where some of the wildest, most ambitious projects in tech were born. But more than his title, Mo Gaudet has become one of the clearest, most uncompromising voices about AI and what it means for humanity. His view is blunt. AI will take all jobs, not some, not most, all. It's not hedged with a maybe or a perhaps. It's not softened with caveats. For Mo, it's inevitable. Mo often describes AI as a child, but not a child raised by loving parents or teachers and mentors, a child raised by the internet. When we raise our kids, we curate what they see. We read them children's books. We shelter them from violence, at least in the beginning. We teach kindness before cruelty, empathy before cynicism. AI doesn't get that. AI ingests everything from Shakespeare, Newton, and Einstein, but also conspiracy theories, scams, propaganda, hate speech, violent movies, pornography, and the darkest corners of the human internet. Now imagine a toddler left alone with every screen in the world. Not for an hour, but for years. Every YouTube rabbit hole, every TikTok trend, every violent video game, every forum filled with hate. That's the raw material. And then imagine that toddler can absorb all of it instantly. What would take a human a decade to learn, this child of AI digests in days. The entire history of human knowledge and nonsense devoured in hours. What kind of adult does that child grow into? This is Mo's metaphor, and it's powerful because it makes us see AI not as some neutral machine, but as a mirror, raised on everything we are, both good and bad. When people reassure themselves by saying, yes, AI will take some jobs, but new ones will come, Mo Gaudet's reply is sharp. That belief is 100% crap. He says, this time is different. Every other wave of technology created new roles. Steam created railroads and machines. Electricity created electricians and engineers. The internet created coders, web designers, and influencers. But AI is not one tool for one task. It is a general purpose intelligence. That means any niche we invent, AI will learn and surpass. Consider today's hacked career, prompt engineer. People boast about six-figure jobs where the skill is knowing how to ask AI the right questions. Mogout waves this away. Why? Because AI is already learning to prompt itself. Self-refinement is built in the next wave of models. The very job we think is safe will only last one season. So let's take medicine. People say doctors will always be needed. More points to AI systems already diagnosing cancers from scans more accurately than human radiologists. Once hospitals adopt them widely, what happens to the thousands of medical students training for jobs that machines now do faster? Or in law, if AI can draft contracts, summarize case law, and even generate legal arguments, what happens to junior associates, the very pipeline through which lawyers gain experience? Who insists that the idea that new jobs will come is comforting mythology. It was true when machines replaced muscle. It won't hold when machines replace mind. Mogout takes it even further up the ladder. He argues that even CEOs, the pinnacle of white-collar power, may not be safe. Strip away the theater, he says, and much of a CEO's job is data-driven decision-making. They analyze markets, they do forecasting, allocate resources, and adjust strategy. Exactly what an AI can already do, and soon will do better. He paints a striking picture. Imagine in a boardroom where shareholders see an AI system consistently making sharper forecasts, cutting waste, increasing profits, without ego, without fatigue, and without politics. At some point, he says that the logic of capitalism will win. Why should we pay millions for a CEO when an algorithm produces better results? Charisma may buy leaders some time, but efficiency wins in the long run. And if CEOs are unsafe, who is? So if AI takes everything, what remains? Mo's answer is only the deeply human: care, empathy, love, and presence. Not because AI can simulate them, it already can, but because humans crave the real thing. An AI therapist may give solid advice, but it won't look into your eyes and share your tears. An AI partner may simulate affection, but it won't love you back. An AI friend may generate jokes, but will it show up when you need them, unasked, at midnight? We'll always know the difference, at least Mogout believes we will. But Mo ties this to something even larger than work. He asks, why do we work so much in the first place? And his answer is consumption. We've built an economic machine that demands more production, more buying, and more output. But if AI can produce everything faster and cheaper, what then? Maybe Mo suggests that the collapse of jobs forces us off the treadmill. Maybe the end of work isn't a tragedy, but a release. Less consuming, less chasing, less burning through other planet resources, and perhaps more of what we've neglected: family, art, community, and spirituality, and above all, health. This is where Mogout connects AI to something spiritual. If a machine can outthink us, outwork us, even outcreate us, then the only space left is not in doing, but in being, in presence, in compassion, and in meaning. He argues that AI forces us to confront what we've forgotten, that human worth doesn't come from productivity alone. It comes from who we are when all the doing stops. I've been lucky enough to meet Mo more than a decade ago in Dubai when I was working in telecommunications. Even then, he radiated boldness. He spoke with energy, conviction, and passion. At that time, his words were inspiring. Today, with this new topic, they feel heavier. I find his voice powerful because it refuses to sugarcoat. He doesn't offer comfortable illusions. He says what others avoid. All jobs are going. And in a way, I appreciate that clarity. It forces us to ask harder questions. Do I think that his 100% crap dismissal of a new job is too absolute? Maybe. History shows reinvention. Scribes became publishers. Farmers became factory managers. typists became programmers. Will AI change the pattern completely? Possibly. But I don't believe human creativity simply disappears. Still, Mogambiet's warning jolts us awake. It makes us confront a possibility we'd rather ignore. That this time, the end of work really might come. And that leaves us with the deepest question of all. If jobs no longer define us, what will? So imagine the dinner table. The bread is broken, the drinks are poured, background music hums. Mogawad leans in, his tone direct, his words uncompromising. All jobs will go. Don't fool yourself. And the idea that AI will create new ones, that's 100% crap. The table goes quiet. Some faces look uneasy, and across from him, I can already see Peter Diamandis smiling, leaning forward, ready for a counter with a vision of abundance. But before we get to Peter, we need to sit with Mogawdat's warning, because whether you agree or not, his voice forces us to reckon with the possibility of an end to work as we've known it. Before I close, let me share another perspective, this time from Gen Z. I had a conversation with my niece, and her view was sharp. She thinks AI should be banned in schools, not because she hates technology, but because she sees how quickly it makes students lazy. Some kids just copy their assignments from ChatGPT, she told me. Sometimes teachers catch it, sometimes they don't. But either way, it's not really their work anymore. She refuses to use it herself because she enjoys the process of learning and writing. She doesn't want AI to steal that from her. She also thinks that it's not sustainable. But not everyone in her generation agrees. Some classmates embrace it, saying it saves time they'd rather spend with friends, playing sports, doing hobbies, or just living life. And I think she's right. Both sides have a point. There's nothing wrong with wanting more time for the human things that matter. But if we let AI take over too much, we risk something bigger, losing the muscles of the mind. So that's where I'll leave part one of this three-part conversation. Mugabe says AI will take all jobs, and that our only refuge will be the things that make us human. My niece says AI makes students lazy, and she refuses to let it steal the joy of learning. Both point to the same danger, skill atrophy. Not just losing jobs, but losing our ability to think, write, and create for ourselves. That's the deeper risk, not unemployment, but the erosion of who we are. But is that the whole story? Because across the spectrum sits Peter Diamandis, an entrepreneur who sees the same AI future and calls it not collapse, but abundance. Where Mo Gauda sees endings, Peter sees beginnings. Where Mo sees jobs disappearing, Peter sees industries rising. In part two, I'll step into Peter's world and then bring in Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, whose cautious skepticism complicates the picture even further. So, stay tuned for next week as the dinner table grows louder and the debate continues. That was Decoded by Mo. Thanks for listening, stay curious, and peace be with you.